All right, guys. My guest today cut his teeth before he could even drink alcohol. He went on to fight in Strikeforce, Bellator, and he is currently fighting the light heavyweight division in the UFC. When he's not cruising for a bruising, you can catch him co-hosting MMA Tonight and on ESPN. As an analyst, please welcome to the show, Anthony Lionheart Smith.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm hanging out.
Awesome. Thanks for being on the show today. I just want to clarify, as I told with our mutual friend Chris Camozzi, that I don't really know a whole ton about MMA. So please, I plead my ignorance. And this show isn't MMA anyway, because if I'm sure people want to know about you and your fighting history, they can just like Google you, and that's all the fight.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't do a whole lot of I don't know, like shows or interviews where it's not totally based on MMA. So I actually jump at the opportunity just to do just to have a conversation that's not 100% fight related.
Yeah, well, I want to get to know you as a person. I'm sure people that follow you, that are fans of you, they want to do the same. So this is perfect.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready.
Dope. Okay, cool. So I did some internet sleuthing about you. I read a lot of things. I don't know what's true, what's not. But I do know that you, okay, no offense, but you didn't finish high school, which isn't a bad thing because look how successful you are. But I am so curious as to how you even started fighting, because I know that you got a job after you left high school.
Yeah.
Was
yeah.
it like...
I've done a bunch of different things. But as far as getting into fighting, I dropped out of high school because I'm an idiot. And I was only in school really to compete in sports, and I was a pretty good wrestler, and that was kind of my goal, was to move on into college, wrestle in college, and that was where my focus was. But I don't know, I was a troubled kid. I don't know, my grandpa died, and that was kind of like my father figure. And after that, my life kind of fell apart, and I was partying really hard, and I was only in school to compete. So once I got kicked off the wrestling team, there's really no reason for me to be there anymore. At least that's where I was in my head. So I dropped out and was, just being an idiot. And I walked into a Subway and seen like this weird flyer for an amateur fight night, and thought that it sounded like fun. And I tried it. I didn't have any aspirations for this to be a career. I just wanted to get in a fight and not get in trouble for it. So
so did you fight a lot when you were a kid with running with the wrong crowd and stuff?
I wouldn't say I was running in the wrong crowd. I'm a half black guy that grew up in a small Nebraska town with like 5,000 people in it. So I think you can kind of imagine what that looks like at the beginning. I didn't fit in really well. And the only way that I found to solve my problems at the time was to fight. And I know that, as a parent, and as a mentor and a guy that people look up to, it would probably be smart for me to say that fighting doesn't solve all your problems. But to be 100% transparent, fighting has solved every problem I've ever had in my entire life. It got people to leave me alone back then, and now it's given me the ability to take care of my family and give them a life that I never would have been able to.
That's pretty full circle there.
Yeah, it's wild, right?
Who would have thought that getting in trouble in high school and fighting would lead to your future career path?
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably not everyone's experience, but it really has. And once I started getting good at sports, here in the Midwest, if you're good at a sport, then pretty much for the most part, people will leave you alone. And that's kind of how I found my way out. I was a good athlete, and people respect me for that. And then that's kind of how I moved through life at that time.
Were you counting on a scholarship for wrestling to
I
head
was.
into college?
Yeah, I was. And I didn't even really care about college. I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do, as an adult. I just I wanted the ability to continue to wrestle once high school was over, and college was that was the route.
Mm-hmm. And how did your mom react when you gave up school?
I don't think she was that surprised. I think once I dropped out, I was only 17, so she had to sign off on that. And, her only stipulation was that I had to get my GED. And I kind of screwed that off for a really long time. But I eventually got it. And once I started fighting, she was all about it.
Yeah. Your number one cheerleader. Now, when you left school, did you continue fighting? Did you go join different types of gyms to really hone your skill?
Not at the beginning, but like for the people that do, know a lot about the sport, like it's much different now than it was. This was the end of 2006, beginning of 2007. So the sport wasn't nearly as mainstream then. So there wasn't a whole bunch of gyms and places to train back then. In Nebraska, the sport wasn't even sanctioned by the athletic commission. Like it was kind of the wild, wild west. So I fought like 5 or 6 times before I ever trained. I don't know. I just went in and just kind of did it with, I don't know, some wrestling ability, some heart, and just really enjoyed what I was doing. So as time went on, people were noticing that I had a little bit of just raw talent, and I was really tough. So, uh, I found a trainer, and then I started driving an hour and a half one way every single day to train. And I think that's why my mom was cool with it. It wasn't that she loved the fact that I was getting punched in the face. Back then, for $0 at all, it was costing me money to fight. But I had a focus, and I was driven, and I wasn't in trouble. I wasn't out partying because I had to be up to drive all the way to Omaha, and that's so. I think she just was enjoying that I was focused on something.
Yeah, your work ethic obviously showed. And we know you do wrestling, but what was the next martial art or type of combat training that you included next in addition to wrestling?
Well, when I started training, I was just a kind of just a hard nosed wrestler, and it transitioned really well into like jujitsu and submission grappling. So even now, that's the best part of my game. It's the part of my game that I enjoy the most. In between fights, I don't look forward to going to the gym and getting punched in the face. But when I'm not in training camp, I do look forward to going to jujitsu practice and grappling. And I just really enjoy that part of the game. So that's was it just a natural transition for me. All the excuse me, the ground fighting, the grappling, the wrestling, it all kind of blends together.
Amazing. And how long did you train until you started getting noticed in the local fight scene? Because I know you started off in the amateur local shows. How long did you pay your dues for before you got noticed where you signed your first contract?
I signed my first contract at another local promotion. It was about 2 years fighting as an amateur. So I signed my first pro contract September 20th, 2008.
And that was with Strikeforce, I think, right?
No, no, it was just a random regional show. So I
Oh,
fought
cool.
as a professional on the regional scene and like some small dog shit shows from 2008 as a pro until I signed my Strikeforce contract in 2011.
And are there scouts from those um like the Strikeforce Belgium? Are there scouts that go to these local shows and like say who's the next big thing?
Kind of like kind of the path to get into the big show is you have a manager, and then your manager is like he's your agent, and he tries to push you onto the big shows. But there are people that will, I don't know, like like the UFC matchmakers and the Strikeforce matchmakers, they keep an eye on the regional shows to see who's really making a lot of noise. And to be honest, I wasn't even one of those guys. I got in Strikeforce on short notice, so there was already a fight that was booked, and like 6 or 7 days before the fight was supposed to happen, one of the guys got hurt. And that's usually how guys get into the big shows and sign with the UFC or Strikeforce or Bellator or whatever. They they just have to stay ready all the time. And then when there's a short notice opportunity, nobody within the organization, for the most part, likes to take short notice fights. So like if the UFC called me right now and said, "There's a show in a week, a guy fell out, we need you to fill it," like I wouldn't be able to do that because I don't stay ready 365 days a year. Like I'm not in fight shape right now, so I wouldn't do it because then I would go there, possibly lose because I'm not ready, and then you lose your spot possibly. So
Yeah.
they look outside the organization because everyone outside of the big shows want to be in the big show. So
Right.
that's how I got in. I just took a short notice fight that no one else wanted, and I won it.
That's perfect. That's like the perfect situation.
Yeah, and it was the perfect timing too. I think my first kid was about to be born too, so I was like a struggling, broke, poor fighter that just was looking for an opportunity and just came right at the right time.
Wow, that's like almost like a Cinderella story.
Kind of, yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, like you're like struggling, then you get this opportunity, then you kick ass. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I could kind of relate on a very much smaller scale. It's like when I go do when I do photo shoots, I get ready for a photo shoot. I'm not always shoot ready. And
Mhm.
someone's like, "Hey, do you want to do a photo shoot?" I'm like, no, not really. I don't. So I could kind of relate.
Yeah, it's an uncomfortable spot too. Like when you have something you're used to being in, well, you're used to preparing for something, and then when you don't have that time, it's a really tough spot. But most guys on the regional scene, if they're good at all or they're close to getting signed, they're always in fight camp. So there's no off time for them. They're 2 or 3 times a day. They're training 7 days a week because they know at any point in time, especially these days during the whole pandemic stuff, there's constantly fights falling apart that they need to fill.
Yeah. Were you close to like a fight when you were training and you got called on by Strike Voice?
Uh, I think I think I was just kind of in that holding pattern where I knew I was getting close and it was just waiting. So I was in really good shape and I was ready to fight anyways. So um, again, that's kind of how the guys on the regional scene have to be. If you're close, you just got to stay ready. And it
Wow.
sucks because there's no break and you never actually know when that call is going to come.
No. It's sort of like being, I don't know, like a surgeon too. You can't go out and party and have like 5 drinks because you don't know if next day you're gonna have surgery. So
Right,
yeah,
right,
we could all relate in different aspects.
for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm curious as about you mentioned back in the day 2006 when the industry was a lot different than it is now because it's so commercialized, it's so mainstream. What do you feel like is the biggest difference or one of the biggest difference as opposed to old school and new school?
I mean, there's a lot of differences. The level of competition is crazy high. The like the level that we're at now compared to where it was back then is it's like night and day. It's totally different. There's a lot more money in the sport now. There's a lot more sponsorship opportunities, a lot more endorsements. There's a lot more like corporate companies that are willing to attach themselves to individuals versus just the company. Like back in the day, it was really easy for like a monster to sponsor the UFC as a whole. There wasn't a lot of fighters back then that had big endorsements individually. So there's a lot of like a lot back then. There wasn't like the Reebok deal where we all wore the same stuff. We all had like kind of like a uniform. Um, Back then we look like NASCAR guys. We just had logos and shit printed all over us, and a lot of that was like mom and pop shops with like your local grocery store, your local car dealership would throw you $500 to
Local
throw a logo.
Kmart. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah, right. They just threw, you just throw a logo on your shorts and hopefully make $500 off of it. But now like there's big time endorsements, long term deals. Like I have a Thorn deal that's we renew it every single year. Um, so that's absolutely different. The pay's better. The platform's bigger. Before we were on like Fuel TV and Spike for a little while. Then it moved on to Fox, and now we're on ESPN, which is huge. So I think those are just a few of the differences.
Do you miss the rawness of the early days, or do you like it polished
100%,
now? Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Um, Back in the day, I always sound so old when I talk like that, but I think it's because I started so young. Like I started at 17 and I'm 32 now. So um, back then it was just grimy and dirty, and the game was, I don't know, it was really raw. That's a great way of putting it. And I do kind of miss those days. I feel like I'm the old guy in the gym now. Like you see a lot of these kids now come out of college or they'll wrestle for a couple years and they're not doing that well in college, and they'll move right over into MMA, and they're just with their athletic ability and where the sport is now and how high level the gyms are. Like these guys don't have to work. They can just train full time. They have a couple sponsors that help them out. They don't really have any idea how tough it really was back in the day. Especially like when I started fighting, there might have been 300 guys under contract with the UFC. Now there's probably over 1,000. So that's 700 more opportunities to get in.
Yeah. I just feel like it is a lot more polished these days because I used to work at a nightclub and there's one bouncer guy. He used to be in the UFC when it was still single digits. It was like UFC 7 or something like that. And he looked like he was rough. I mean, I thought something was wrong with him, but it's all probably because he was a fighter, but he was so like passionate still about it. When I found out, I was like, "Hey, I didn't know you were a fighter." He's like, "Yeah, if you want to let me to teach you, I'd love to teach you." I'm like, "Oh my God, that's so cool." I never did, but I just feel like it's much more exciting and macho. But I feel guys now they want to get into it because they want to be macho. I don't know
Well,
if
it's
that's
cool now. Like when I started fighting, it wasn't cool. We were
No.
we were looked at like, I don't know, human dog fighters. You know what I mean? Or it was, or like, yeah, it was like human cockfighting. It was like the weirdest looks and reactions you would get when you told people what you did. Now it's cool. Now everyone wants to be a UFC fighter. But like when I started, it was like if I met a girl or something and their parents were like, "What do you do?" Like, oh, I work construction. Like you don't ever tell the parents right away
Yeah,
what you do back then. Like now it's not as taboo as it used to be.
that's true. And how did your okay, I know you're married with 3 really cute kids. What did your wife's parents feel like? I guess are they first they followers of MMA?
No, no, they weren't at all. When I met my wife, I remember her asking me what I did, uh, and I don't even know. Obviously, I wasn't signed anywhere big yet, but I told her, and she kind of like blew it off, like, "Oh, okay," like it wasn't that big of a deal. But apparently, like in the back of her head, she was like, "What in the hell is this guy talking about?" Like, I think she thought I was just like some random street fighter or something. But um, I didn't meet her dad for a long time. He's him and I are really, really, really close now, really tight. But then, I was, we were we were 21 or 22 when we met. So, um,
So they were really new or like not new, but you're still not, as
good.
acclimated as you are now, obviously.
No, I wasn't very good. I wasn't very accomplished at that point for sure. So, um, yeah, we were. I don't know, like her dad and myself. I didn't meet him for a long time just because I was the guy that was dating his daughter and just a typical dad. Her mom was super cool. She's kind of like, yeah, whatever. Like she's kind of a hippie, um, and just whatever makes you happy. She was cool with it. So, um, yeah, yeah, it was kind of it's an awkward conversation at first though. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I'm sure they watch all your fights now.
Yeah, her dad's my biggest fan. He absolutely is. He listens to every single one of my radio shows, watches every show that I'm working. He'll text me randomly in the middle of fight cards, asking me questions or whatever. He's my biggest fan, and her mom's crazy supportive. So
I
yeah, it's
love that.
really
It's so
cool. Yeah,
awesome.
it's cool.
Is it hard for your wife to watch you fight?
It didn't used to be. It didn't used to be when we were younger. She didn't seem to it didn't seem to affect her that much. As we've gotten older and had 3 children now, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if the stakes are much higher now when I fight. I'm fighting the top 5 guys in the world, or I fought for the world title. I've been in really, really, really big fights with really, I don't know, really big consequences if it doesn't go my way. Um, and so now she's a wreck. I don't know why. She's a mess. But when we were younger, she was kind of just, I don't know, along for the ride and enjoyed it, and obviously super supportive, but didn't seem to be too stressed or nervous. But now she's shaken, and all of her friends have to come so they can support her. It's kind of
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know why. I don't know what happened as we got older that it started to bother her more, but it absolutely does now.
I think as time goes on, I mean, you take life a bit more serious and obviously your love grows as time goes on. So I think that's part of the reason why.
And my kids
But
don't give a shit.
well,
They
because
love.
they're young, they're like, "Oh, what's going on?" Oh,
Oh,
dad's
they
like just
love it.
playing.
Yeah, they love watching. They love watching me, work the desk and watching me on TV, but they don't care whether I win or lose as long as I come home.
Really?
Yeah, they don't really care.
That's crazy. I'm just so curious as to how they react when they're watching you and you're, I don't know, these 2 guys like beating each other up.
Well, it's all they know. They don't know me to do anything else.
So
So
when you come home with like bruises and swelling, do they just like kiss it? Daddy, all better?
no, they don't care.
They're
Isn't
just
that
like,
what?
whatever. Just
I mean, I guess I could see why people would be surprised by that, but they really don't know any different. Like they've all seen me come home from practices or training and or training trips somewhere else or fights and like stitches, black eyes, bruises, swollen nose, broken face, surgeries, broken hands. Like none of that stuff's really weird to them. It's that's just their normal.
it's your lifestyle, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
they've been to fights. I mean, they've been to plenty of UFC fights.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like my 2 youngest ones, anytime we have fights on here at the house, I'll have a couple neighbors over or something. Um, a lot of the kids will run around the house or playing in the playroom or whatever they're doing, and the 2 younger ones always want to sit on the couch and watch the fights.
Oh, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
Now, as your daughters get older, I know you have a preteen or teenager.
No, they're 9, 6, and 3.
9, 6. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
would you ever want them, should one decide that, hey, daddy, I want to be like you. I want you to teach me to fight. And I want to fight in the cage, like just like you one day.
No, I'd rather they didn't. And that has nothing to do with them being girls. I said that one time, and some lady freaked out on me that I was, like that I was treating them different than I would treat boys. I wouldn't want any of my kids to fight, and not because of the damage or how dangerous it is or whatever. It's just a really tough lifestyle. Um, a really small percentage of people make it in this sport to a place where they don't ruin their lives in the process. I wish I wish someone would do a documentary on how many people's lives are ruined trying to make it as an MMA fighter. Like, I've seen this sport just tear people apart. You lose relationships, you lose friendships, your family hates you. Like, it's like the rodeo. Like, cowboys and bull riders, like the craziest dudes in the world, but their lives, like, personally, are disasters because it's like they're just chasing this dragon that they can never get a hold of. MMA is very similar. So it's it's just a tough life, and not very many people make it. Um, I mean, if they really wanted to, I've been telling them their whole lives that, daddy will support you in whatever you want to do, but I would definitely steer them in a different direction if I could.
Yeah. Do you know many people that have fallen off the path in the goal to reach the heights in MMA?
Yeah, most of them. That's like the shitty part. Like, if you're in a gym and there's 60 professional fighters there might be, like, it's different now because now all of us UFC fighters tend to congregate in the same places. So it'll, when I do my training camps in Denver at Factory X. So now there's shit, I don't know, there's probably 20 of us there now. They're in the UFC. But, like, if it was just a gym that just came together and it was just, it opens and there's a bunch of people that go there and everybody wants to try to make it to the UFC. If there's 100 people there might be one that gets close and he might not even make it. And that's just the harsh reality of it. So the people that you come up with as your career goes, chances are if you make it, you're probably the only one that's going to.
Right. Do you have any examples of?
Yeah, just people. I think it happens in a lot of places in life, but for whatever reason, it seems so much more. I don't know. It's just so much more difficult to deal with in this sport because people they'll sacrifice anything. Like, if the devil showed up and said, sell me your soul and I'll get you in the UFC, I would imagine most people in the gym would probably do that. And that's just how passionate people are. But there's people that, they fall into drugs and alcohol and they'll just, like, I've known, obviously I won't say any names, but when I was coming up, there was this guy who had this amazing family, couple kids, beautiful wife. She was super successful. And he's just chasing and chasing and chasing this dream, and was like totally willing to let his family fall apart. Like, and now here he is today. Like, no wife, kids don't give a shit about him, working at some bullshit job for, minimum wage. And, like, he's just better than that, and that's just how this game goes. It just ruins people. And it's really sad to watch.
Is not him specifically, but do you feel like because of the injuries that are incurred during their career, they get addicted to painkillers?
Yeah, I think that's professional sports as a whole. I think it happens more like in football. I think it's more. So I know, obviously I know a couple professional football players, a lot of college guys, like high level people. In football, it's not really frowned upon. It's kind of pushed your direction. Like, if you can't hang through a practice or a game, like, you got to take painkillers to get through it. And it's like that tough guy mentality. In MMA, people hide it. It's kind of like steroid use. Everybody in the NFL does it. Everybody knows who's doing it. And it's kind of just hidden. As long as you're not doing it in front of everyone, no one gives a shit. In MMA, everyone hides it. Lots of people still do it.
Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, them chasing the dragon, all they do is focus on training, fighting, that they neglect their family life. And then I don't know, like, how do they survive?
What do you mean?
Like, coming off from such a high, like being in whatever division or whatever, like, association, then losing their family, and even, like, do these guys end up on the street sometimes, or they work at Subway?
Yeah, all of the above. They end up in all sorts of random places. Or unfortunately, a lot of them end up never giving up the dream. So you see these mid-30s, late 30s, early 40s guys that have been doing this forever that are never going to make it, fighting on the regional scene again, where
Like pipe dreams.
they're like fighting for $200 and getting the shit kicked out of them by guys that are fresh out of college. It's this weird cycle. And it even happens like at the end. There's not that many guys that end up super successful in the sport, make it, and then when it comes time to retire, no one ever retires. Everyone kind of leaves this game the same, face down and embarrassed. Most guys are forced to retire. So like boxing, you see it all the time. Guys like Floyd, you go 25, 30, 35 and 0, they win the big one, make a lot of money, and then they just bounce out and you never hear from them again. And then
they start fighting YouTube guys.
right. That's no shit. That's crazy, isn't it?
I don't understand that. That's embarrassing.
It's all money. It's all money driven. Everything in combat sports or sport in general is money driven. But
so greedy.
You're never going to see a guy in the UFC do that. Like maybe one or two guys have come close, but like Anderson Silva was was arguably the best fighter in MMA, like in the history of ever. And now he's on he's lost 4 out of 6, looking like shit, getting knocked out in his last couple of fights. Like even that guy, he has all the money that he would ever need, and he just can't put it down. I don't know what it is about this sport, but guys cannot quit. It's the craziest thing in the world. I don't understand why.
Is it like an ego thing, like glory days, like they can recapture that same spot?
I think it's very much kind of like drug use. I've actually talked about this on my own show. It's terrifying to me to even think about retirement because I don't know what I'll do with myself. I think that those guys are looking for something because I'm still doing it today. Like I'm chasing something, but I'm not necessarily sure what it is. Like obviously I want to win a world title. Obviously I want to, cement a legacy, but there's something else that I'm chasing, like some feeling that I'm chasing that doesn't matter who you knock out, how bad you knock them out, how fast the win is, how impressive it is, whatever that is, I'm not finding it. And I would imagine that those guys probably have that same feeling. And I think it's a fear thing. Me and John Anik, who's a play-by-play guy for the UFC, have had a couple conversations, and in that conversation, it's like I think I figured it out, but I'm not 100% sure. I think that everyone wants that same fear and excitement and anxiety that you had like at the very beginning when you started fighting. So like you kind of lose that along the way on the regional scene, and then you get signed, and then you have it all again. It's that fear, the anxiety, the nervousness. And then once you're in the UFC for a while, you start to lose it again. It's like you become comfortable, and so there's no reason to be afraid anymore. And I think guys are chasing that.
But there really isn't. I mean, I guess there always is the next best thing, but I mean, in terms, well, for example, you went up a weight division at some point. So was that like
it came back a little bit?
What's that?
Yeah, and it came back a little bit. Like it's something new and something you've never done before, and I don't know, something fresh. And there was like this new, I don't know, anxiety, this new fun feeling and kind of, I don't know, uncertainty. And so when I moved up to 205, that was the new fresh coat of paint that I think I needed. I think it was different faces in the division. It was different guys that I guess I hadn't been paying attention to for the last several years. I don't know. It was I didn't know if I was going to be big enough or strong enough or fast enough or hit hard enough. Like I didn't actually know how well I would do at 205. So I think that gave me that, I don't know, that little bit of anxiety that I needed, that kind of, that rush. Like I hate telling people that I'm an adrenaline junkie because I don't think that I am. But I guess, okay, I probably am, but it doesn't feel that way. Like jumping out of an airplane, like probably would be fun, but I don't think that would give me that rush that I feel when I'm in the octagon. It's different. The only other time that I've ever felt what I feel when I'm fighting in the UFC is when that guy broke into my house. That's the only time I've ever had that same feeling. And that's kind of scary.
By the
way. It's definitely crazy. Yeah. But that's the only other time I've ever had it. So I don't know, like when I don't have fighting anymore, I don't know how I get that, I guess.
I don't know. Well, like having said that, I feel since you said some guys aren't sure what they're going to do after they're done fighting, you already started a little path for yourself by being a commentator and an analyst for ESPN. I think that's huge. And um, I don't mean to judge and stuff, but when Chris told me about you, I was looking you up, and he was telling me a lot of great things about you. You're well-spoken, the nicest guy, such a stand-up guy. So I was looking you up. I was like, holy shit, this guy looks so tough and so hard, like a thug. I was just like, whoa. And Jason, can we just pull up a picture? Like, look at this. You look like you're from like East LA. I don't know, pulling up in your lowered hydraulic, I don't know, like a cholo. But you're like the nicest guy. Family man, 3 beautiful daughters. So I think that's, I mean, a good opportunity for you, I feel like.
Yeah, and I like it. It's a lot of fun. It's not what I expected. I kind of fell into that on accident. That I never ever thought that I would be able to do any kind of TV work or radio work, and it's weird. Now here I am sitting with a job with ESPN and my own radio show on Sirius XM. It's kind of wild,
Yeah,
but
look at you there.
you know what's crazy? Did you know me and Rashad fought each other?
Yeah, I saw, because I looked at your fight history.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, I had another question. Is it hard to commentate on someone that you dislike? You don't have to mention any names, but there's the guy in the UFC you're not too fond of. Like, do you find it difficult?
No, I love it. I look forward to just taking a shot at that guy any chance I get. I still do it today. Any chance I get to talk trash about Luke Rockhold, I do it every single time.
That's awesome.
It is, but I also have to be, I don't know, unbiased and give my honest opinion. As much as I dislike Luke Rockhold, I can't discount that he's very, very good,
right?
And he's dangerous in a lot of places. Like, I guess it's easy for me to separate myself from the person and just look at their skills. But if I have a chance, I'll definitely take a jab at him for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably do the same.
I
don't like you
It's hard
either.
not to.
And how did the ESPN thing and commentating and your own show come about?
I'll try to make it as short as I can because it's kind of a long story. But I took a short notice fight in my very first main event versus Shogun Rua. He's a UFC Hall of Famer. It was a really huge opportunity. I took it on like 10 days notice. Again, like kind of like the regional scene guys, when you're trying to make it, I don't want to say make it, but trying to, I don't know, show out in the UFC a little bit and get these big opportunities. A lot of times they come on short notice, and I happened to have just fought Rashad like 2 weeks before that. So I was already in shape and I was ready to fight. So I went there. It was in Hamburg, Germany. And there's a guy that does a lot of the play-by-play in like desk work for ESPN that's from the UK. His name's Dan Hardy. Dan's a super, super cool guy. I was a big fan of his career. He kind of, he had this heart issue and he stopped fighting. So he was working for the UFC doing the European events. So he was there. I had to do an interview with him, and there was all the producers and the people that work for the production crew in that meeting. And essentially they want to know, how is training? What's your game plan? All the stuff about the fight. How do you feel about it? And then they use that information during the broadcast, during your fight, to like keep the fans entertained and kind of tuned into what you're thinking. So if you tell them your game plan is do this, now you got all the fans looking to see if you're going to do it. So me and Dan ended up in this, I don't know, we just like were rapping the whole time. And if we weren't talking about my fight, any of the fights on the card. It was like we just, I don't know, we vibed really well, and we just kept talking fights. And then all of a sudden the production crew was like, listen guys, this is really cool, but you guys aren't talking about anything we actually need you to talk about. So the UFC seen how well Dan and I got along, and then every time I fought after that, they added this hour-long thing with Dan Hardy that they kind of called the Lion's Den. So all it was is they put it on Facebook Live, and then they just set up a camera, handed me a microphone, handed Dan a microphone. There was no direction, and there was like talk. And so we just chit-chatted every single time I fought. After that, it was just something that they added to my media schedule. So from there, Dan Hardy had a Sirius XM show. So then the Tuesday after every pay-per-view, Dan asked me if I would come on and do a segment on his show, and they called it the Lion's Den. So we would just talk about the fight, the fallout, who won, who lost, what's next for the winners, blah, 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 blah. And then Dan, his kind of schedule got super busy and he couldn't do a show anymore. So then Dan left and they gave me Dan's show. So then I had my own show, and it just kind of snowballed into an ESPN gig from there.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was
It's like
totally by accident.
that's by accident, but there's like a time and place, and like opportunity is all about timing, really.
Yeah, yeah, and the UFC is one of the rare sports, and well, I guess MMA is one of the rare sports, but the UFC is one of the few organizations in professional sports that use still active athletes on their commentary team. Like you see football, it's usually retired NFL guys. It's that's how basketball is, baseball. It's always retired athletes. The UFC is one of the only ones that use still active athletes. So I don't know. I think I can just carry a conversation, and I'm obviously a super fan. I'm not just a competitor. I'm a huge fan of sport. So whether I was on TV talking about what happened during the fights, I would be doing that here at my house with my friends anyways.
Yeah. As we wind down here, what do you have in the near future? I don't really, I guess with the COVID situation, are fights pre-scheduled? Are they more like spread out in advance? How is it scheduled?
Um, I don't know. I'm probably like where my management and agent are, they're in the process of negotiating a fight with the UFC. I don't know. I haven't been too concerned with it. I fought end of November. So I really just want to fight before the summer. And that's only so I can take the summer off. It has nothing to do with like that. That's the only real timeline I have. I want to fight right before the summer starts and then spend this. I typically like to take the summers off and spend them with my kids and wife. We travel all over the place. I have a big RV. We ride razors. So we'll usually travel the country with a trailer behind us and camp and ride the sand dunes or the trails in the Black Hills or head out east and hit the trails there. So that's really my only plan. So hopefully I fight in April and then disappear again.
Yeah, I hope you fight in April too. All right. So usually at the end of my show, I like to do something fun. Today we're going to do Anthony Smith, fact or fiction. So I have about 5 fact or fiction things here about you. So I'm just going to go through each one and you let us know whether it's true or false. And if you want to, you can elaborate on some of them.
Okay.
Okay. So during one of your fights, your tooth got knocked out and you picked it up and handed it to the referee to hold on to it while you fought.
Fact. Fact. Yeah, that happened. It was actually the first professional sporting event back at once the pandemic started and like all the sports shut down. We were the first one back. It was in Jacksonville, Florida. I was fighting Glover Teixeira, and I was actually winning the fight. And then I got clipped with a real hard left hook, like in the 3rd round or something, and I was kind of hurt for the rest of the fight. But I think it was like the end of the 4th round. He hit me with an elbow at some point in time in the 3rd, and I could feel my 2 front teeth were like wiggling inside of my mouthpiece. And so I couldn't take my mouthpiece out because it was going to pull my teeth out. And I actually handed it to the ref because I was going to put them back in because your mouthpieces are custom molded to your mouth. So if you're missing 2 teeth, then your mouthpiece doesn't fit anymore. So I was hoping that I could just shove the teeth back in between rounds, and then my mouthpiece would fit again. That was the plan. And the ref stuck him in his pocket and never gave him back to me. So, but yeah, I did do that. I did do that. These front 2 right here.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Could you take those in and out when you fight now, or do you just leave them in?
No, they're implants.
Oh, the implants.
Yep.
Okay, so they're not like partial dentures.
They're not going anywhere.
Okay. Next, in junior high, you won a breakdance contest and was recruited by the Black Eyed Peas for their music video.
Fiction, but goddamn it, I wish that was true. I totally wish that was true because that'd be badass. But no, I can't dance to save my life.
Oh, you can't really.
Not at all.
I totally made that up too, by the way. All right. You love to get pedicures.
That is so funny. That's totally a fact. I sent you a message on Instagram asking. I said I had a question. I was going to ask what happened if I was like 15 or 20 minutes late because my pedicure totally ran long.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's so fucking funny. Yeah, so me and my wife and my daughters, we get pedicures all the time. So for whatever reason, it took a long time today. And I thought I was gonna be late. So that was my question. Was like, could we push it back if we had to?
Oh, that's funny because I didn't see your message till like a lot later, and I was like, shoot, you probably didn't see it.
Yeah, no.
But you made it on time.
Yeah, I made it, so we're good.
Yeah. All right. Okay, let's see here. When you get drunk, you insist on you and your wife singing karaoke, and that song is Beauty and the Beast by Celine Dion and Peebo Bryson.
Fiction, but that is so funny too. Uh, that is funny. No, I can't sing either, unfortunately. I can't
Can't
sing.
sing,
I can
can't
really just
dance.
fight. Yeah, that's really
Thank
it.
God you could fight. Sheesh.
I have no skills.
Okay. Last one here. Okay. You mentioned that you got into trouble when you were a kid during high school, yada, yada, yada. So the cop who arrested you several times during your youth was at your wedding, attended your
Yeah, he
wedding.
went on my honeymoon with me too.
Stop it, really?
Yeah, that's true. That's fact. Yeah, he was at my wedding. He's at my honeymoon. He was at my house like I don't know 4 days ago. I go on hunting trips with him all the time. He comes
How'd you
up.
guys forge a friendship from all the arrests? And
Yeah,
I don't know the arrests.
I don't know. There's lots of arrests, but nothing serious though. Like I've never been in trouble for anything I've ever done has been to myself
Petty
essentially.
crime.
Like not like I've never stolen anything. I've never like I don't know, I've never beat up anyone who didn't want to fight. Like I've won lots of fights on the streets, but never like
I'm
I don't
sure.
just go around beating up people that didn't want to fight. Like I usually didn't start them. So yeah, I've never stolen anything. I've never, nothing like no like crimes against people. A lot of like I got a couple DUIs and a lot of MIPs when I was younger. Like I like to party, but
What's MIP?
minor possession of alcohol.
Oh,
So I got a lot of those. But like driving under suspension, like stupid shit. But
okay, light stuff.
yeah, like stupid stuff. But yeah, it was so he used to chase us from parties all the time. He'd bust the party and we'd run and he'd chase me. A lot of times he'd catch me, but he gave me one of my DUIs. It's whatever. But as I got older, he was a fight fan. So as I got older, he he was really, I guess before he was never a bad guy. Like he was always really really nice to me and always trying to like help me figure out how to get out of trouble or what was going on or why I was having such a hard time like in life. So it was never like he arrested me and I was like, F that cop, I hate that guy. I was like, damn it, he caught me again. And he was always so cool. Like always told me if I needed anything, I could always reach out to him. And then as time went on, I stopped getting in trouble. I met Michaela, we started having kids, and he was always a fan of my career and my success. And then we just, we'd have a beer together here and there. And I don't know, we just grew this friendship and now his wife and my wife are really, really close and we still hang out to this day. It's kind of crazy, right?
That's a great story. I love
Yeah,
it.
it's cool.
It's like
He's a
it's like
good
a
dude.
movie.
He's a great guy. He really is. And he was like that with everybody. Anybody he's ever busted or arrested, like he's kind of like the modern day Dog the Bounty Hunter. Like he'll definitely catch you, he'll arrest you. But then like at the end, he's always trying to figure out how he can help you.
That's amazing.
He's
This
a
guy
good dude.
deserves an award.
He does. He's a good dude.
Yeah. All right. Well, we hope that we see you on TV in April. I wish you all the best. And where can the fans find you?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Lionheart A Smith. Pretty soon going to be on TikTok, so I'm gonna start taking all my stupid comedy shit that my kids and wife have to deal with here, and I'm gonna take it to the big screen, I suppose.
Nice.
But yeah,
Official TikToker.
I'm gonna try to be a TikToker. But yeah, I'm gonna be I'll be on Twitter and Instagram. That's all me.
Awesome. And you catch Anthony on ESPN commentating on his show MMA Tonight. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I had a good time.
All right, thanks. All right, Jason.